and we're moving into something a little bit different. But I promise I have a point. And I think, Eric, we're picking up on we're picking up on the second part there. Okay. I was just double checking where we're picking up at. All right. So something else happened over the weekend. If you missed this, I'm going to inform you now. Kendrick Lamar and Drake actually had a diss battle back and forth all weekend. And I was just saying to myself, like, slow down. I can't keep up. Every time I was turning around, there was another diss track. I'm like, stop. I can't keep up with all these diss tracks. You know, like I'm trying to watch movie and someone texts me and says, Kendrick just dropped another one. Drake just dropped a response. And it was like back and back and back, right? Back and forth. But the reason why I want to have this conversation is because it also leads to something with DJ Vlad. And then we'll get to Macklemore in the end when we're focusing on what should have been the focus. And I want to get to that point as well. But first, let's start with this rap battle that happened between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Love him, hate him, don't know. Who's your fave? Who do you think is better? But it always, it was very interesting enough to make mainstream news. Listen to this.
Welcome back to ABC News Live First. It's the rap beef that keeps going back to back. Drake and Kendrick Lamar are trending after taking aim at one another over the weekend in 5 different songs, one of them dropping overnight.
Your fans are rejoicing.
We have to skip this part. And I know someone said Kendrick may have released like the copyright thing, but I just don't know for sure. So
now, Drake's latest record, The Heart Part 6, already has 8 million plays on YouTube and is a direct response to Kendrick's Not Like Us song. I want to bring in Anscape senior culture writer and author of It Was All a Dream, Biggie and the World That Made Him, Justin Tinsley, to break it all down for us. Justin, thanks for coming on. There's a lot to go through here in a short period of time, but let's talk about the timelines this weekend, because this was all over the place. So can you take us back to what led to all of this and how we ended up with 5 diss tracks in just 2 days?
Yeah, like if I tell you the whole story, we would need a 6-part documentary. But just in this current construct, let's go back to 2023 when Drake and J. Cole had the song, the mega hit, First Person Shooter, which Kendrick Lamar kind of took offense to about a big 3 and other lines within that song. That leads us to the song Like That, Future and Metro song on the We Don't Trust You album that came out a couple of months ago and eventually became the #1 song in the country for multiple weeks. Kendrick took direct aim at J. Cole, but definitely Drake in that record. Fast forward with a couple of responses from Drake a couple of weeks ago, and you get this weekend, which was unlike anything in hip-hop history, with a flurry of disses that just came from every direction, primarily from Kendrick Lamar.
And they were personal beefs. There was information apparently, alleging to Drake being interested in underage girls. That was referenced throughout. There were accusations against Kendrick Lamar about him being a woman beater. Like, it was personal. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm the better rapper, the better MC. It was not that kind of beef. It was more so like personal things, like hit him high, hit him low. So it went there. I will say from my experience, and people used to get mad at me when I said this back then. I remember when Drake first became like popular, and I said it back then and I still stand by it today. I never thought Drake was a phenomenal rapper. Like, I liked some of his songs. I still do like some of his songs till this day. But I mean, you got to understand, I grew up with Biggie and Tupac, Snoop, Cube. I grew up with that type of hip hop. So for me, that's what I compare everything to. So when I heard Drake, I was like, oh yeah, the songs are pretty catchy, but he's no Tupac. Okay. And people were out here in the streets talking about, oh, well, Drake, he's the best rapper ever alive. Hold up. Let's not go that far. Let's not go that far. So I grew up with that, like the Nas and Eminem and stuff like that, where the lyrics actually meant something. My parents will say that they grew up with the type of hip hop that actually was more, conscious rap. So they grew up with like Grandmaster Flash when they were talking about really important issues that were affecting the community at that point in time. So every generation has like their thing. But I knew about Drake because he was on a show called Degrassi. I don't know if everyone's seen that show, but that's where I know him from. But yeah, I never thought he was this phenomenal rapper. Does he have some trendy songs that I like to bounce to every now and then? Yes, but I never thought he was phenomenal. When I listen to Kendrick Lamar, I do feel like Kendrick Lamar, I feel like he's more of a lyricist. And that's what I look for when I listen to hip hop. Is one of the reasons why I like Tupac so much, because Tupac's songs actually told a story. You know, he had a song called Brenda Had a Baby. That's actually a really deep song if you listen to the lyrics. So for me, I would prefer the Kendrick Lamar style to the Drake style in reference to the lyrics and who's the lyricist.
Now, Kendrick Lamar doesn't usually give fans music like this back to back, but in Drake's latest song, he says Kendrick has 10 more songs. So do you think that means more diss tracks?
Oh, there's definitely more diss records in the tuck. Now, whether they actually come out, I'm not sure. But this is a tension that has been brewing for the better part of a decade. If you're familiar with Drake and Kendrick Lamar, hands down the two biggest rap stars of their generation and two of the biggest musicians of their generation. So he's been ready for a situation like this. And you can tell with the strategy, timing, and lyrical darts in his responses.
Okay. So what became more interesting about this, because there was also a pretty damning conversation on Twitter that was very revealing about DJ Vlad because of this diss, because of this beat. And I think that Kev on Stage actually summed it up in reference to how DJ Vlad chose to respond to the Kendrick Lamar song, Not Like Us. Like, I like that one. I thought that was the best one that I listened to so far. But this kind of sums it up, you know, DJ Vlad's response to what he said in reference to Kendrick Lamar's song. Listen to this.
You know, the mix. I just really don't like the mix on that song. I mean, you just two-track the SOB. You really screwed the pooch on that one, buddy. I mean, you got the whole world a listening, pal. And you don't take time to do the mix? I mean, I don't mind the lyrics. Sure, you betcha. But the mix, I mean, where's the production quality? You know, Prince didn't do a great job on the mix sometimes, and look at the streams. Look at the difference in the streams on the mix. If K. Dot would have done a better job on the mix, I think he'd be up in the battle. But you know, the mix is important.
Yeah, so I thought that was a good way of summing up how DJ Vlad responded. Now, the reason why this conversation in particular is important is because apparently this discussion really exposed DJ Vlad. Now, some people already had their opinion about him, but DJ Vlad actually went full Karen to the point where he decided to threaten this woman's job. Like, I kid you not. So he responded and he said, Kendrick's Not Like Us needed a better mix. It takes away from the song. Okay, whatever. He's entitled to his opinion. Eric, go ahead and pull up part 2 for Tight VNC. He's entitled to his opinion. Whatever. I really don't care. I've never really been a fan of DJ Vlad, like, to be honest. And I've taken, like, you know, I had my own issues with, like, DJ Vlad. Eric, can we pull up part 2 of the Tight VNC? Thanks. Notori said DJ Vlad is a Fed. Okay. I don't know about that part, but this is funny. Kid, exactly. I don't know where. Okay, I don't know. Hold on one second. I'm trying to find. 1 second. Okay. I'm waiting on Eric to pull up part 2. Thank you. But I guess, like, my whole thing is like, I've never really been a fan of DJ Vlad, so to speak, but he did something that I thought was just yikes. Let me go up here. This woman here, so she was a professor at Princeton. So her name is Morgan Jerkins. So she responded to this And not everybody agrees with the way that she responded, but I want to show you how this got worse. And I think that's the part that's pretty interesting. She said, "You are white. This is a Black folk affair." So she was responding to what DJ Vlad said there about Kendrick Lamar's, Not Like Us, Need a Better remix. Now, some people was like, yo, he's entitled to give his opinion, whatever. But I think the thing is, even if you disagree with what she said, even if he disagreed, I think he took this to another level that was not cool. So he decides to chime in here and he says, "Wait, so a professor at Princeton is telling me that a white person shouldn't be allowed to voice their opinion about hip hop. Is that how you interact with your students?" So I guess you guys can see where this is going. She chimed in here and said, "What I'm saying is that you put your opinion in a discussion that's not needed. This conversation is and should center Black people, not you." And she went on to say here, "And by the way, my students have more cultural competency than you. They actually know how to read the room." Okay. So he chimed in here, and this is where he decides to go full Karen. "Don't try to change your words now. I'll be reaching out to Princeton about this on Monday." So here is a guy, DJ Vlad, white guy, who is known for having interviews with different hip hop artists. It's a really popular show. DJ Vlad, like Vlad TV, is really popular on YouTube. You can look it up, and we'll talk about who he is in just a second. Hangs out with all the dudes and stuff, all the rappers and stuff. Now, all of a sudden, DJ Vlad realizes that he can use his privilege to threaten someone's job. So a lot of people were not happy about this because they said, wait, you're threatening this woman's job? And she's a Black woman, Morgan Jerkins. She goes on to say, "The semester's over. My contract has been completed, but thanks for trying to bully me out of a job for centering Black people because you got your feelings hurt. Very retaliatory, huh? Nice tactic." He goes on to say, this just gets worse and worse. "It's called a permanent record. Every university has one. I went to Berkeley myself. People spew ignorant and bigoted comments at you publicly and then act like they're getting bullied when they get a response. Typical victim mentality. Go ahead and take that Princeton out of your profile, sweetie. You just admitted it's not even true anymore. LOL." So he went to Berkeley. Berkeley is a pretty high-ranked school, by the way. University of California, Berkeley. Pretty high-ranked school. So she chimes in here and says, "Sweetheart, before I was a professor at Princeton, I graduated from Princeton. LOL. So what is you really saying?" This is the part that really seals the ticket here, folks. "Good luck being a professor at Princeton again. I doubt the university supports their faculty telling non-Black students to shut the fuck up about anything hip hop related because of their skin color." So you see how he was able to just turn like that, which is not even what I said. "I find it funny that you specifically chose to respond to me, belittle my academic background, and threaten my job when others respond to you in a much harsher way. Very interesting and telling, but you got it." So this is oof. He decided to try to clear the air on Monday. "Since it's Monday, let me clear the air and state that I never had any intention of filing a complaint to Princeton for former Professor Morgan Jerkins, saying that white people aren't allowed to comment on Kendrick Lamar's music. She trolled me and I trolled back. At the end of the day, it created an interesting discussion about race relations in America. I will be discussing it further in my future interviews." No, just don't. It's just just let it go. Might want to just let this one go. I don't know, dude. A lot of people turned on you yesterday. A lot of people in the comments were like, wow, I used to like this guy. What the hell happened to him? But people have been suspect about him for quite some time. Now, this is where things get interesting. She responded to his statement, a lie. He tagged my employer multiple times with the intention to professionally harm me. I didn't troll. I center Black people in discussion of hip hop and told him to stand down because it's not his space. He's backtracking because he miscalculated. By the way, stop contacting my family. So this is nutso. Like, this is going further than, it should have gone. Mark Lamont Hill actually chimed in reference to his response on Monday. Mark Lamont Hill said, no, Vlad, this doesn't clear the air. You're literally arguing that you were weaponizing your power and privilege to threaten a Black woman's job. And why? Because she criticized you on Twitter about your power and privilege? You could have disagreed with Morgan Jerkin's stance. I actually didn't object to you intervening in the conversation, even though I disagreed with your point, without threatening her. This is Karen shit. And yeah, like DJ Vlad went full Karen. And it just like that. So you see how that can change? The same guy who hangs out with rappers all the time and say he's cool and down with the bros and the homies. Just like that, he was able to go, whoop, full Karen, a full Chad. Just like that. It was not a good look, bruh. It was not a good look. And he also responded to Mark Lamont Hill. This is bad too. Oh, hey, I ratioed him here. I didn't realize that. Not Mark LaFlop Hill chiming in. Must have hit a nerve with all the jobs you've gotten fired from over the years. LOL. I responded down here and I said, this ain't it. No, like it's not like, Mark Lamont Hill was fired from CNN because he was standing up for the Palestinian people. This is not an own. This is not an own. Bad, bruh, bad. So Mark did respond to this as well. He said these types of responses are why people don't think you move in good faith. Instead of engaging the actual critique, you resort to name calling and misdirection. And yes, though not at all relevant, I've been fired twice. Both times it was for advocating for justice through my platforms. In contrast, you're using yours to try to get someone fired. Why double down instead of just saying I went too far in my response to a comment that I disliked? That's a really good point there from Mark Lamont Hill. Saying you got fired from how many jobs when he got fired because he was being principled in reference to, the Palestinian people, that's not an own. And I don't even know. But who is he? I think you need to know something about DJ Vlad. And we're going to transition this into what happened with Macklemore, because I think this is important. Who is DJ Vlad? Where did he come from all of a sudden? And why is he doing what he's doing? Let's get into this piece here.
Figures that excel in manufacturing chaos, few have the success rate of DJ Vlad. Active in the game for the better part of 2 decades, the Kyiv-born University of Berkeley graduate is a self-professed guest in the House of Hip Hop. Yet, despite a special clearance, Vlad TV helms one of its most recognizable content sources, split between welcoming new guests to his dimly lit headquarters and welcoming his controversially courting favorites back whenever possible.
So you guys may notice some of these thumbnails, right? You're probably looking at this and you're like, oh, I think I may have seen this on YouTube before. Yeah, so he's this is what he does. He's interviewed, I think more starting out hip hop artists, then also, of course, like Tiffany Haddish, like all those kind of jazz.
His channel has garnered billions of views and spawned no shortage of feuds, outbursts, or memes. Away from providing bi-weekly dispatches in the Lord Jamar and Eminem beef, Vlad produces noteworthy moments even when he doesn't get the interview.
Okay, so he's kind of known for basically pulling out like controversial like topics or beefs with people. But I want you to see this as well, because this is an omission apparently from DJ Vlad as to why he does what he does. And this is why I think, to Mark Lamont Hill's point, why some people in the industry just don't respect him. Listen to this.
The problem being that, as we see the patterns that perpetuate in Vlad's content, his reputation only seems to worsen among both industry vets and newcomers. In terms of years of activity, Vlad could conceivably be seen as a vet in hip-hop, but instead, he's regarded to be something held at arm's length. So all that he's beset by ill feelings these days, Vlad's career started out unassumingly, filling what he saw as a gap in the market with a West Coast-based mixtape operation. When you think about it, will we be getting bi-weekly dispatches from Lord Jamar that actually hit the news cycle if it wasn't for the rant inciting questions posed by Vlad? I was really the first person to ever do that because I really didn't have an outlet, Vlad recalls. I lived in the Bay Area in California and there was no Africans on Canal Street over there, so it was really all I could do.
You hear that? There were no Africans on Canal Street over there, so it was really all I could do. Listen to this.
Never one to rest on his laurels, Vlad then brokered his mixtape Acclaim into in-depth interviews that were available for home purchase. When the DVD bubble inevitably burst, Vlad had to evolve or die, and in many ways, he spearheaded the YouTube interview as we know it today. It was just a YouTube channel, so people were wondering why I would call it that name. Now we're like the number 10 news channel, and that includes ABC News, Associated Press, and all those. We're number 10 on that list. You gotta see the vision early. These hustles don't stay the same. Armed with a...
So you hear that? So to DJ Vlad, this is just a hustle for him. This is just a hustle. He's listed as a top 10 news channel on YouTube. That's including mainstream media in that category. But for him, it's just a hustle.
Keen eye for the next big thing and an unwavering work ethic, 2009 would see him garner the position of Executive Vice President of SRC Records. Now, Vlad's steadfast commitment to the grind has landed him in, if a BuzzFeed interview from 2014 is to be believed, a 700 square foot home in the millionaire's playground of Calabasas.
So you hear that? So he was able to make a lot of money off of this. Calabasas, this is where the Kardashians lived, in Calabasas. So just to let you know what type of community that is. Yeah, Carrie. So he saw a way to make money. Yeah, he saw a way to make money.
But while it's clear that he knows how to monetize hip-hop, the question lies in whether it benefits anyone other than himself, or if it's actually proven itself to be a detriment to the wider culture.
And that's the question a lot of people have. Is this actually helping the culture, or is this actually making the culture worse? So that all started because of this beef with the diss tracks with Drake and with Kendrick Lamar. That's where all that started. And then we have to ask questions about people like DJ Vlad, who apparently got invited to the cookout at some point and hangs out with all the rappers, and everybody kind of gives him the thumbs up and he's cool with everybody. But the moment, someone disagreed with him on Twitter, whether you agree with her or not, he wanted to threaten her job. That Karen type of behavior. Now to circle back to Kendrick and Drake. Apparently there was a shooting outside of Drake's home today. I know. Nico says there was a shooting outside of Drake's home in Toronto. I kid you not. Listen to this.
A shooting has occurred outside the home of Canadian rapper Drake, the incident occurring in the wake of Drake's ongoing beef with fellow rapper Kendrick Lamar. CP24's Courtney Heels is on the scene with more. Courtney, we see the police tape behind you. What more can you tell us?
Good morning, Marcy. I can tell you there is a pretty heavy police presence along this road. This is Park Lane Circle. It's the street that Drake lives on. This is as close to the scene as we can get. You can see they have a Toronto police van here, a couple of officers blocking the road, also yellow police tape here too. Now, Chopper 24, that's our newsroom helicopter, was able to get over Drake's home earlier. And in that video, we saw some yellow police tape in the courtyard of his home. Also some people going in and out of the house. And as you reported that CP24 reporting there is a source confirming there was a shooting outside of his home. We do not know if Drake was home at the time, and this is all happening in the wake of this ongoing feud with another artist, Kendrick Lamar. We don't know if there's a connection here just yet. We are in touch with Toronto Police to see if they can share any more on this investigation. They are staying pretty tight-lipped, but what I can also tell you, police are sharing that they are investigating a shooting in this general area where we are. This is the Bridle Path neighborhood. Police say they were called to the Lawrence and Bayview area at about 2 a.m. That's really close to where we are. At that time, that was a shooting investigation, and police and paramedics told us a man, an adult, was rushed to hospital with serious injuries, and they were still looking for a suspect seen leaving the area. Now, we've reached out to police to see, okay, is that shooting that was clearly very close to that connected to this one? They're just not saying just yet. We expect an update on this pretty soon, especially given the attention this is getting this morning right now. But the latest on this breaking news, a shooting outside of Drake's home happened sometime overnight. We don't have any further details. We don't know if the artist was there, but this is a pretty significant police presence in this neighborhood. Marcia, as I say, this is as close as we can get. I was actually on the other side of the road here, and again, entirely blocked off by cruisers, and we can not really see from this vantage point, but our chopper overhead was able to show us police in the courtyard of the home, and there's some yellow police tape up there too.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. When I first saw this earlier today, people were like, "Was it DJ Vlad?" No, I don't. I don't think it was DJ Vlad, obviously. Ty says, is Drake a gangster rapper now? I know, right? Because there's a shooting outside. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's just a coincidence. I don't think this is related to like the diss tracks, obviously. But it is interesting that that happened. But then there was something else that made me think about this. And I'm like, what if this was just all planned? What if this was just all a planned distraction? And there was something that Colin tweeted that I think people need to see. Shout out to Joe Nice DJ for making this point. I didn't know that Drake and Kendrick were signed to the same label. But yes, this whole beef is nothing more than a distraction and really a waste of time. So check this out. This is coming from Joe Nice DJ. For those keeping score, Kendrick Lamar is signed to Universal Music Group. Aubrey Graham, Drake, is signed to Universal Music Group. The CEO of Universal Music Group is Lucien Grange, a pro-Israel billionaire and Zionist supporter. Does that name sound familiar? You're about to see why. Lucien Grange is a defendant in Sean Combs, P. Diddy, Puffy, whatever his name is, court case. Okay, all right. This just in. Kendrick versus Drake is a distraction. This BS takes away from Israel and their continued genocide of Palestinians in Rafah. It also turns down the heat on Sean Combs. If you think a fake rap beef is for the culture, you might need to consider other activities. So that was very interesting. And I thought about this as well. Like now everybody, are they all distracted by these, the diss tracks going back and forth? I kind of fell into it too, instead of what is happening to Palestinian people in Gaza. This is something to think about. And Danny brought up something here as well that I want to mention. For all the other artists, Beyonce, your queen, but what has she said about Gaza? Kendrick Lamar, your GOAT, but what has he said about Gaza? Zendaya, you're everything, but what has she said about Gaza? Your favorite celebrities have given the most cowardly endorsement of an Israeli-U.S. genocide. Silence. Now, to that point, I will say Drake actually did come out in support of the Palestinian people. I haven't heard that from Kendrick. If I'm wrong, let me know, but I haven't heard that. But somebody did decide to bring it back to what's important. And I want to bring this up here. I can't play it again, but it's based as hell. Okay, I'm pretty sure most of you have seen this by now. We'll play it on call-in tonight. Macklemore actually decided to bring it back to what we should be focusing on. And I think this is really important. Macklemore dropped Hens Hall. Once it's up and streaming, he said all proceeds will go to UNRWA. So he released a song about Gaza and about the protest and about police brutality. And he did a really good job here because he said, he called out Joe Biden. He said, no, I'm not voting for you in the fall. He called out the police state and the police state presence, all while giving a shout out to Ice Cube and Eazy-E for, educating him when he was young, telling him to fuck the police. He brought attention to that. He called out Zionism. He called out the politicians being funded by AIPAC and all these other lobbies. At one point during the song, he said, you can buy, what did he say? You can buy Meta, but you can't buy me. So he called out, Meta/Facebook, whatever it is today. Like, he actually did a really good job. And I was not expecting to hear a song come from Macklemore. That was not on my table this week. But the point that I want to bring back to is this. I felt like when that song dropped by Macklemore, it kind of brought everything back into perspective, which is, wait a minute, what are we doing? He called out Drake in that song too. He said, I don't need a response from Drake. This is not to say that we can't have our fun and entertainment. But sometimes I wonder if these things are just designed. Like, was this beef designed? Was it just to turn our attention elsewhere? And so Macklemore brought that all back. And there's something significant about that song that I want to shout out here. They brought this up in the Independent. Macklemore releases pro-Palestine track Hens Hall as he hits out at Drake versus Kendrick Lamar beef. Notice how they phrase that. Okay. Like that wasn't the way it was done. He gave a shout out to someone. There's a sample here. And some of you may be familiar. The song samples Anna La Habibi by Fairuz, the popular Lebanese singer known for her vocal support of Palestine. In Hens Hall, Macklemore, real name Benjamin Haggerty, covers everything from American politics, capitalist greed, social media censorship, and white supremacy in less than 3 minutes. So I thought it was great that he gave that ode there to Fairuz, because that's important. Obviously, someone who has been vocal about Palestine. Yeah, she is. I know Brown Bunny. Brown Bunny. She's a great singer, by the way. Yes, she is. She is. So I think that it was nice that somebody came in and brought it all back into perspective. And that's kind of like, I don't know. Like, that's kind of how I see it. I thought that was nice that happened. We'll play it. We'll play the Macklemore song on Call In so you can hear it. It's like 2 minutes. Like, he said a lot in 2 minutes. I'm just telling you, he said a lot in 2 minutes. So, and it didn't have to be him. It could have been anybody. If Kendrick Lamar would have dropped that song, I'll be saying, yo, Kendrick Lamar dropped this song about Gaza. If Drake would have dropped it, I was saying they dropped this song about Gaza. But it seems like Macklemore was not the first one, because other rappers have before, in the past as well. But it seemed like he dropped it at a time when there was a lot of attention that was focused on the diss tracks, etc. So it makes you wonder, what's wrong, Danny? Danny said he could have been DJ Cat. I wasn't going to say anything, but I knew someone would bring it up eventually. Where is DJ Khaled? Who is Palestinian? Where is he at? Why is DJ Khaled so silent? That's another thing that's mentioned in that song. As he mentions, he's like, where are all the other artists? Why are they silent on this issue?